Hello, screenwriters, and welcome to Writing for Screens, the screenwriting step-by-step project, episode 113. My God, these are piling up. My name is Glenn Gers, and I am teaching screenwriting here on Writing for Screens, the YouTube channel. Do some lessons, but I've also started this project where I am letting everyone look over my shoulder, share my screen, let me talk through the process of writing a script from rough idea through outline to rough draft, and now we are planning the rewrite. We are putting the notes into the outline, and that is today's work. The purpose of this is to show you the process of writing a script, because most script writing lessons, they focus on the result. This is what a good script is like, but they don't show you how to get there. I do not know what kind of script you want to work on. I do not know what kind of writer you are, but I do know that almost everyone needs to find a reliable process, a way to do the day's work one day at a time, sometimes over months or years, because that's how long it takes to write a script, especially if you can't do it full time. So what I am trying to show you is just a process that I worked out in my 25 years as a screenwriter in movies and television. I had to figure out how do you do this? How do you organize this? What is the ritual that you go through of writing the outline, writing the scenes? It's not the best way to do it. It's not the only way to do it. It's just a way to try and learn from. See what is good for you. If you like it, great. If you don't do it. Maybe that'll just teach you what you do want to do that's not the same as what I do. Every single writer does it their own way. The most important thing is that you figure out your way that works for you. I'm just going to show you stuff that I think is useful, some skills, some tools, some tricks of the trade. That is what's going on. Hey, Natasha. Hey, I write. Greetings. Welcome to the show. I come every Monday through Friday, if I can make it, at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time to do these live. If you are watching me, not live, which is most of you, most of the people who are going to discover this, are going to come upon it some other time. You can't make it at that time. Cool, not a problem. You can still ask me a question if you have one. You just go to writingforscreens.com and you can contact me by clicking the button that says Contact Me. I try and keep it simple. Contact me, contact me. It opens an email, sends me an email, goes right to me. If for some reason you hate and fear email, cool, that's all right. You can still ask me a question here in the comments of this and every video that I got on my channel. Okay, with that boilerplate intro done and a bunch of people watching now, let's get to it, because I really want to try and get this part done so that we can start rewriting. Here's what I've done. When I read through the script, scene by scene, I wrote notes on what I thought the scene needed. Just the biggest note, not every little line and word, but what's the problem with the scene, or what's working with the scene, what's the point of this scene. Now these notes need to go somewhere that I can use them when I do the rewrite. So that is what the outline is all about. The outline is a list of every scene in the script. That's what an outline is. Don't let people confuse you about this. An outline is a list of scenes. That's all it is. It doesn't have to be fancy. It's just for you. It's a way that you can figure out what scenes go where and what goes in them. So to me, an outline is a workspace. It's a place where you can just write down whatever you think, try and remember. You can put down questions, you can put down notes, whatever it is. Then later you can go through that and just refine it until your outline is a things to do list. It's a list of scenes, and in every scene you got something you're trying to accomplish and some little notes and tricks and observations that you want to get in there, maybe some lines, whatever. That's what the outline is. It is not for anyone else to see. It is not a selling document. It is not a summary. It is just your workspace to make a list of scenes. Okay. Hi, Nacho. how does one read the trades? Let me get to you about that. Hey gang, hey, this is Kitschy. Kitschy has offered to share some of his collection of scripts. He has a large collection of scripts, and if you want that, contact me once again famously through Contact Me. Go to writingforscreens.com and click the Contact Me button and say, hey, can you connect me with Kitschy so that he can give me some scripts? And we will do that. Kitschy, you and I may really regret that you started this. Okay, so briefly, let us just answer this question. Read the trades. Yes, the trades are, originally the trades were Variety and Hollywood Reporter, basically. That was it. There were two magazine newspapers, weekday newspapers that covered the business deals, the hirings and firings, stuff like that in the biz, the trade. So they were called the trades, the trade newspapers. That was where everyone announced everything, and that's where you kept track of who was doing what. The trades have sort of dissolved, as have all printed and magazines and newspapers, into the really best way to do it is websites. Let me quickly note for you Deadline Hollywood, The Hollywood Reporter, IndieWire, okay, let's do this. Here, let me do this so that you can see it better. Okay, these are, whoa, we want to go the other way. We want to go this way so that I can do this. Boop, 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 boop. Well, more or less. Okay, so these are the names of Deadline Hollywood is a website. The Hollywood Reporter is a website. IndieWire. Oh, you know, I should honestly. This is, oops. Variety used to be the one, and things have gone right. Okay, Deadline Hollywood, The Hollywood Reporter, Variety, and IndieWire. These are all good trades. These are good insights into the business. They tend to report on what's happening. They also now often put scripts. If there's a script up for an award, they often will give you a link to get that script. These are the trades. If you want to know what's happening in the business, that's where you would look. Important. This does not explain the art. This is purely business. This is who's got what money and where they're spending it, which is kind of useful and kind of misleading. Because the truth is, you don't write money. You don't write results. You write a good script and hopefully somebody picks it up. But you'll find out if somebody has opened a new company and they've got and they're trying to do a certain kind of script, sometimes they will publish that. It's not a bad thing to do to understand the business, to know who's doing what. But remember, it's like I don't know. It's just business. It's not always helpful. But that is the trades. Once again, in case you want to know, the trades basically, as far as I know, and I do not know everything, Deadline Hollywood, The Hollywood Reporter, Variety, and IndieWire. The Hollywood Reporter has gotten really good on some in-depth reporting, some bigger picture stuff. The Hollywood Reporter actually is really good. Deadline tends to be the one that really gets to the nitty-gritty of like, this is who screwed up and this is who's winning and this is who's losing. It's very nitty-gritty. Hollywood Reporter, I think, is a little classier and does some better big think investigative reports. Kim Masters, who does a great podcast called The Business, is there. Anyway, so that's what the trades are. All right, Alex Lexus has asked a really long question. Hi, Janae. Yes, indeed. Hey, Maria. Okay. Yes, that is true. Deadline is good for publishing the shooting scripts of the award submitted movies. Go on to Deadline and look for uh, scripts. Like type in scripts. I think you'll find that they have a lot of links to a lot of scripts. Um, okay, I'm going to answer one more question from Alex, and then I have to work. I have to get some stuff done. But let's see. I came across a story someone shared on Reddit of something that happened to them. I really want to share into a short film because it clicked with me. Cool. Other than the person it happened to, there's nothing about the story that singles that person in any way to directly identify them. Can I get to work on it without any worries, or I need permission, even though the names would, of course, be altered? This is a good question. Someone else asked a similar question. I'm going to do a little bit on this in one of my AMAs, but let me just briefly, hang on. I'm going to very briefly screenshot this so that I can answer it that way also, because there's no way to keep a printout of these comments. Here's the deal. If there is anything in this story that is remotely identifiable as this story that was on Reddit, you could be in trouble. When you say, like, there's nothing about the story that singles the person out in any way. Yeah, but clearly there's something that happened in that story that's unique. Like they said, I got my foot caught in a pickle barrel. Whatever it is, that story that you are liking, that's their story. They put that out into the world, and you generally can't just take something. Although there probably is a legal argument, and I am not a lawyer. This is not legal advice. Talk to a lawyer if you're getting serious about anything about law. But from what I understand about life stories, if it is a specific, unique story, and they have put it out into the world on something like Reddit, in theory, they kind of made it public. But if you take that story and you write a short about it, yeah, you can't do that without their permission. I believe. Yes, inspired by real events is one way that they put it about. Yeah, if you're talking about where it came from, you're already into infringement. Yes, that's a fairly good way to look at it. Thank you, Anthony. Generally, I would say if it's a story that is publicly known in many sources, like the mayor of your town got busted for corruption and the details of the case, that's probably something you could do because it's public interest. It's public news. It's been in many sources, public sources. If it is a single person story that they put in one place, you probably cannot use it without getting their permission. In writing, in a good legal form that a lawyer will help you with. But the question is, what is the story that you like so much? What about it? Because if it's a story like my brother betrayed me and went out with my girlfriend, that's probably, that's okay. You don't. That's not copyrightable. It's a story. A story itself is not copyrightable. The idea is not copyrightable. The particulars are. The particular expression of it, if there's a way that it is told, that is copyrightable. An idea itself, a story itself, is not. Which gets into a complicated thing because you could say, well, the idea of Inception is, I could have thought of that. And yeah, maybe. I wouldn't go there. I would not write my own version of Inception and say, hey, it's an idea. Anyone can use it. So I would say the answer is, in general, try not to use things directly. On the other hand, I am constantly pulling news articles about people's lives that are described in some human interest story, and I will use that and I will say, well, what am I going to do with this story that is going to make it mine and not just a retelling of the thing I did? If you're going to take a character who has a very specific, like they grew up in a bubble factory. They grew up in a place that makes soap bubbles. That's very specific. But you might be able to do that if you take that person and you make them so different from the person who wrote their story that you can say, really what you're doing is imagining from that notion. That's yeah. You can copyright film treatment. What you're actually doing there is copywriting the expression of the idea. You're copywriting your written version of it. You couldn't just say, I have this idea, but not write it down and copyright it. You have that. What you're actually copywriting is the written expression of the idea. It is tricky to take someone's story. That's all I will say. I would say find out if there's any way in your mind you can transform it into something else that holds within it the spark of what you like about it. That's really the key. What is it about them that you feel something about? What specific thing? That thing may be expressible in some other story or form. That's my answer to that problem. Yeah, think about it. Try and find your own way to tell the story that was moving to you. That is it. I gotta do some writing here. Okay. So this is the outline, and these are my notes. Okay. I hope that helped you, Alexis. Alex. Alexis. Yeah, Alexis. Well, I covered it all. All right. Okay, so this is actually several beats. Okay, so there's really two main notes I got here. Boom. This is the first one, and this is actually important. Okay, so it is important to make clear that George was not, it's not like, okay, cool. Thank you, Alex. Alex said, let's work. Yes. One of the things that I was sort of wrestling with in my original draft was the idea that there was unfinished business with George and Madeline, and I think that was unnecessary. In reading it, I thought, I want to stay out of the past as much as possible. We're going to have to get into the past when it comes to the serial killer in some ways, but as far as George and Madeline's past, all that matters is that they have not seen each other, that 30 years ago they changed drastically. They broke up, they went on separate paths, and now, through a freak occurrence that he forgot to change his will, she is being dragged back in. That is all that matters. So the idea that George, I had this long scene, this long speech where the cop explains how after she left him, George recognized her value, and that's when he made her his executor. Bullshit. Who cares? Unimportant. It's in the past. Do not spend a lot of time on backstory unless it is relevant to the front story, the story. That's what you want to worry about. The story, not the backstory. Okay. Just to recap, outline is my idea, scenes, and the treatment is a description or resume of the story. That is exactly correct. An outline is just your own notes for it. A treatment would be if you wrote a little prose version of your story. If you wrote it as paragraphs where you're basically telling the story to the reader directly. Not in scenes, not in shots, not in dialogue, just this is the story. That is a treatment. They are used to summarize scripts for lazy producers. I hate treatments. I think they are an evil, evil thing. The other thing that a treatment is used for is to have a written version of it that you can copyright. But honestly, you could, yeah, and that's fine. That's useful. But yeah, treatments are terrible. Treatments are an evil, evil thing that you want to try not to do. You want to try and do an outline because an outline gets you to a script. A treatment gets you to somebody reading a story. Okay. So this monologue at the end. Oh, gosh. Well, this is several scenes. Oops, several beats, and I put delivery guy right in the middle of that. Delivery guy eats. Delivery guy sells her drugs. Okay, so. Okay, what I'm doing right now is conforming. Hold on a second, Maria. I am conforming the outline to the script. This happens a lot, by the way. This is really important. When you write your script, you change things as you're writing it. Wow. You don't always just like precisely do what the outline says. The outline is a list, a work, but then a things to do list. As you work on it, when you're writing it, you discover new things, you advance it. When you're done with the draft, go back and make a new copy of that outline like I did. If you notice, this is outline V2, not the original outline. I made a copy, and I'm working on the copy so I don't lose my original. And then you have to make that outline match what you wrote. In this case, that's what we're doing here. So what this actually is several beats of her being alone. She's wandering through, then she talks to George's spirit, and then she's on the phone to her office. And what I got here is, actually, this is not yet a note. This is a question. This is a thing to do. Figure out what this is about. It should be about Madeline, not George. Okay. There we go. Door encounter. In other words, Dondosky comes to the front door. Okay, so now we can take all of these things and I'm going to move them up here because I have done what I am currently trying to do, which is just get all of these rough notes into the outline so that I have everything in one place. The most important thing is to get all of your material in one place that you can work from it. That place, I like to think, is the outline. All right. Hey, Johannes. Hey, I'm doing that really quickly. That's right. Hey, good to see you. Yes, Maria, we were just talking about that, and I told you to write a treatment only because you don't think in story, so I was trying to get you to tell the story in a treatment. That treatment is just for you. The worst thing in the world, as far as I'm concerned, is a treatment written for producers, for the network. They're constantly asking for it because they don't, first of all, they feel uneasy. It's like, we're going to tell you, here's a check, take this money and go write a script and come back to us. It is understandably crappy for them because most of the time it doesn't come out as they thought it would. Oh, by the way, this is really, really important. One of the most important things about working on scripts in the business is everybody has a different script in their head. Everybody, until it is written, and even after it's written, everybody pictures an entirely different thing. It's like if you said to people, imagine a new kind of cat. Everyone would think of something different. That's what you're doing. You're saying, I'm going to do this new cat. And they're like, oh, cool, I love cats. And they picture a certain kind of cat. But when you give them the cat that you did, they're like, what the hell is this? I expected blah, 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 blah. So you do like, okay, I'm going to do a sketch here. I'm going to do a rough list of cat qualities, whatever it is, that's the outline, that's the treatment. You're trying to give them a sense of that. But there's so much lying and promising and wishing in all of those things, because until you actually make the cat, don't save it, make it, when you actually create the script, it becomes itself. And no one is ready for that. And everybody's screwed up about it. So treatments are a way to try and protect themselves from paying money for things they don't want. But treatments really suck. They're just awful. Okay. What are some of the questions we should ask ourselves in the editing process as we move from one scene to the next? That's such a big question. Let me think. In the editing process, you kind of, first of all, you're trying to figure out, what is this scene doing? Like, what's the point of this scene? And so what you're doing is saying, in the last scene, I thought we were going to get this. In this next scene, you're going to, in some way, follow up on that, but in some way, mess it up. Every scene. The best person for this is a guy named George Saunders. Let me see if I have honestly only read the first section of this, but it blew my mind. A swim in a pond in the rain. In four Russian masters, he uses 4 short stories in Russian literature to give a writing class by George Saunders. I cannot, at least the first section, I have not read the other 3, but the first one's a Chekhov story. His explanation of the process by which a story unfolds is the most important writing advice I have ever seen. It is amazing. Please, if you are interested in that question that Maria asked, which is what are the questions we should ask ourselves as we move from one scene to the next, this book really, really, really says it well. So I'm just leaving this up here to urge you really seriously. It's about writing fiction. It's not about scripts, but it doesn't matter. It's the same storytelling principle. Seriously, great stuff. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, that's okay. We're good. Okay. Cool. Yay. All right. So what I'm doing right now is when I read through the script the first time, whenever I read a scene, I would think, why is this scene good? Or why is this scene not working? Often the scene was like, oh, that's not bad. It's too long, or it kind of loses its focus in the middle, or whatever. But I would make a note, this is good, just needs to be better. But then I get some of these where it's like, this is not actually what I should have done. Like I repeated something here or whatever. So that's what these notes are. Just my basic, not getting into the nitty gritty, not getting into the words, not getting into the specifics, just what's the point of this scene? How well is it doing its job? And what's my basic tell myself what to do later? That's what these notes are. We have a long way to go before we end up rewriting. So, hello and glad you made it. All right. So, in this case, Dundosky and Madeline at the front door. The main thing is just make this better. That was my main note. Think it entirely. Okay, now the thing about this scene is the basic idea of this scene is good. The actual scene, it just sucks. It's not good. I did not write a good scene here. I wrote a placeholder. Okay, so and the main notes I had were give it more shape, because it's the scene. It was sort of like one beat. It wasn't really a good scene. And there wasn't a sense that it went anywhere. Like he goes to the door, he says something stupid, she goes, what? And then she closes the door on him. Wasn't a good scene. So there has to be more back and forth, I said, and more of a shape. In other words, he has to be trying something, and there has to be some sense of connection or encounter. And the main thing is, I need to give her more reason to let it go when it's over, because that's what happens. That's the thing about like Maria. This is your question. With this scene, I had to think, what's the point of this scene? The point of this scene is that Dundosky fails and that Madeline shakes it off. That when it's over, he has to find a new way in, and she has to not worry about it. Because if she's worried about it, things would be more difficult later. So that's the key. Okay, so all right, so let's go back to this. Okay. See, now here, this is where I got into a big question. This is where a scene really, really wasn't working. I had a scene where Madeline is talking on the phone to her office, which is an opportunity. When you have somebody like calling home, you have an opportunity for them to let out whatever is most important to them at that moment, or what is most important for me to get into their mouth at that moment. That's the key. You're always looking for the opportunity to put into the character's mouth a convincing moment when they spill the beans about something, or when they tell us their plan. That's what this is. But I don't know what her plan is. I don't know what her feeling is. So that wasn't working. So that, and then after that, the kid comes in, he sells her drugs. But the main thing that's happening here is, in this sequence, this whole sequence, I didn't know what it was about. So I kind of really got on myself there. And that is back here. See, this is the several beats and the monologue to George. Okay, so I'm going to add these notes back up here, because these are all bright pink. These are all figure out what this is about. Yeah, okay, this is just repeating what I was saying, so I don't have to say it twice. This shouldn't duplicate the monologue. Okay. The phone call shouldn't. All right, so. Okay, so these are just notes. This is it. Okay, so I need to go through the, and I'm just asking myself a question here. What is her journey through these steps that I've given her? First, she's wandering alone. Then she talks to George. Then she gets interrupted by Dundosky. Then she talks to the office and Kyle and the drugs. So there's 5 steps. I need to make sure that those 5 steps are going from one place to another place. And more important than the tragedy is the dislocation and desire to go, yes. So this is what it's really about. I tended to write these scenes thinking about what it was like for her to be confronted with the murder of her ex, and that's fine, but that's not who she is. Remember, the woman that we met in the first scene is a woman who really liked her safe life. This is that woman being confronted with things that are very disturbing. So what she wants most is to go back to safety. So this is very good, actually. So the drug party, when this guy offers her drugs, it's messing up her. That's what derails her plan. Every step until Kyle and the drugs has got to be about her wanting to get out. Okay. Every step until Kyle is about her need to go home ASAP. And then when Kyle, see, this is when I ask myself this question, when I say, what is this series of 5 scenes about? Okay, one of them is about a distraction, but the rest of these others are all about her and even the door is about her wanting not to be there. Not about her wanting to solve it, not about her wanting to deal with her past. It's about her wanting to get out. And I have not written the scenes that way, and I need to rethink all of them. And then what happens is Kyle says, hey, you want some drugs? She's like, yeah, you know what? Yes, that even better than escaping by going out of here. I'll escape right now with some drugs. It just seems like a good idea at the time, and that blows everything else out of the water. It's a turning point, which she doesn't recognize as a turning point. This is the writing. This is the stuff, guys. If you're not catching it, this is why we do this outlining. Because when something isn't working, you ask, well, what is this about? Okay. So let me just quickly, let me see. All right, I'm going back through your, I put off writing a car chase scene. Just wrote car chase and moved on. So now I'm writing it. It's so much harder than yes, car chases are really hard. You have to do it's like a juggling act. You have to keep it moving fast, and then at the same time you have to think, what distinctive actions are in the steps of it. I have to say, I'm just gonna this is I happen to have written a really good car chase scene that I put up on my website. It's on Writing for Screens. Hold on, let me see. It wasn't. It's not a car chase. Hang on, I'm going to show you this. Okay, on writingforscreens.com. If you go to that magnificent site, hold on, I'm gonna show you. You can find a script I wrote, which happens to have a car race. It's an auto race, but an auto race is actually a car chase if you think about it. All right, so here's the deal. You go down, 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 and you'll come to this page on my website. If you go to this corner, you can't see it because of my old face. It says creative. That's ooh, sorry. Okay, it says creative. And that is, if you click on that, it will open up this list of, there's like a bunch of things that you can click and get to. This first one is the script of a TV pilot I wrote, the very first TV pilot I wrote. It's called Blood and Smoke. It's based on a book, a really fascinating history book, a really good history book, which is just crazy about the beginning of auto racing. Anyway, the first, 10 pages of that script are a car chase, because it's an auto race where they're trying to, and it's actually violent. Anyway, that's a place that you can find a script that shows you how to write a car chase, or one way, not the only way, not the best way, but I did feel like, what the heck, I got one right there. Okay, so the thing about writing action is you need to describe enough of it to capture the mind, but and make it distinctive. So they say, why do we care about this car chase? But at the same time, you can't give up on the story. You have to be telling the story. What does this action in the chase mean to the people? Is this the one where the guy takes the risk he's never taken before? Or is this the one where the evil villain is suddenly reveals his evil? What is the action in the action? That's the really important thing. By the way, another really good example, it's very old, but it's quite well done. There's a couple of action sequences in the script for Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. William Goldman's script for Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid was revolutionary in screenwriting because he didn't know how to write a script. He was a novelist. And so he sort of changed the way scripts were written because he had never really seen a script. And the way he writes it is just really, really readable. The only thing I will say is don't copy his cut tos. He writes cut to every second. And we know you cut to. You don't need it. You can just cut away the cut tos and just have paragraph breaks imply the cuts. Okay. Yes, that's true. There are probably some Fast and Furious scripts. I'm not sure how well written they are, but you definitely will get some good car chases in there. All right. Okay. Actually, do scripts... this is a very good question. Sometimes, yes, it depends on what version of the script. Remember, every script goes through many, many drafts, not just before it gets sold, but during production and even in post-production. Okay? They keep working on the script, they keep rewriting it, and then when the entire project is finished, they very often do conform the script to the finished film. Sometimes they do that when they're making the awards version of the script, in which case it's kind of cheating. You don't really see. So it's better if you can get a production script. If you can get a script which says like red pages, blue pages, white pages, and then dates on the lower corner, lower right-hand corner, that means you're seeing a real actual, like this script was in the midst of production and they were changing, the colored pages means they were changing sections of the script. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yes, Baby Driver script. Obviously, he kind of overwrote that. The Baby Driver script is tricky because he knew he was directing it, and so he wrote what he was going to direct down to like cuts on this line and that line. That's kind of overkill for most readers, but you should definitely check it out. Also, because Baby Driver is a really good example of meaningful action. The action reflects interchanges and decisions by the characters. It's a very good script. Yeah. Oh, are you Irish, Anne? That's not music as well in the end, in it. I like that. That's definitely not American. Okay. El Mariachi. Yes, indeed. Very cool. Okay. Nice. Well, the Nightcrawler script has got to be around somewhere. Yes. Now, and once again, Mad Max Fury Road, very tricky because they wrote the script as storyboards. Because they knew they were making their film, which is not the case with any script you write, because the director was writing it, they actually storyboarded the script and then wrote the script from the storyboards, which is incredible, but not the way you should do it. Okay. Yes, by the way, Prisoners, loved Prisoners. Wonderful. Okay. Cool. All right. Hello, Gene F. Glad you are here. I have failed to do my job. Not writing. Let me go back. Okay. So, there we go. Look at that. Okay, see, then you get this. Just make it work better. This is the exact opposite note of this stuff, where it's like, I don't really know what I'm writing here. This scene, boom. This is the note. Boom. Just make it work better. In other words, if this is right, this is good. The point, the basic moves, the basic ideas, they are right. Oh gosh, let us ban this person. There we go. Remove. Sorry, did not mean to add that to your screen. I was trying to ban it and I slipped my click. Okay. So sometimes your note is just going to be, just make it work better. Come on, dude. This is not as good as it can be. You get a little loose on this, a little over described on that. Think it out, but just make it work better. That's a doable note because I know how to do that. Sometimes you look at it and you're like, it's on the right track. It just needs polishing, smoothing, punching up, as they say. Okay. Let's get to the next scene. All right. Okay. So, oh yeah, I don't need this. Boom. All right. The next scene, the scene is pretty good, just needs tightening and polishing, but there was this one note, so I'm going to take it and put it in there, that in the fight scene, so this scene is pretty good, just needs tightening. Okay, but then this is a note. Dum, dum, dum. There we go. Dondowski had in the fight, he pulls a knife out of his boot and he goes like, and then they hit him and it falls down, and so later she picks it up and she puts it back in the knife rack. I don't know if that was intended to be a mistake because she's stoned. Don't do it. Yeah. Okay. So either make it that the knife, because she's got like one of those wooden knife blocks, and she's trying to put this guy's hunting knife into it. Obviously, that's not going to work. So that was, sometimes you just have a little note like, oh, seriously, Glenn, don't you remember your own script? Okay, here we go. Boom. All right. Then, once again, this is my favorite note. It's just like, go back to the script, look at it, you know what this scene's about, make it better. Okay, it's actually two scenes. That's the point. Norman puts Matt to bed. Okay, that's the problem here, is that this is two Norman and Mad meet. That's one scene. That's the one that I was talking about. There we go. Okay. This is to bed and has to stay. Jeez. Okay. So make it better, but it's right. Sometimes you read it and you're like, maybe you are not like this because you have not had enough experience, but this will happen to you. If you do this, you'll say, this scene, it's kind of not bad. The basic point of the scene is right. I just didn't write it very well. That's a rough draft. That's okay. And now I'm going to answer M's question. Does reading in different moods change the way you think of a scene? Or are you objective all the time, maybe? No, there is no such thing as objective. Yes, you get really emotional, or not at all, depending on how I'm feeling at the moment. Yes, indeed, that is a fact. The way that you solve that is read it a bunch of different times. Because, I just read this once. I'm also very experienced at this. I have been doing this for 30 years or more. So I have written and read hundreds of scripts. And as a result, there's a part of my mind that's very mechanical when I do it. That's very critical. But the truth is, even then, yeah, sometimes I'll read it and the scene will just be like, oh, I can't be bothered. And sometimes I'll be like, ooh, I love this. Your mood very much influences it. The only way to fix that is to, first of all, try to learn how to read with kind of a split mind. Part of your mind is just being a reader, and that's especially, to take that seriously. And then another part of your mind is a worker, is a mechanic, is a, well, how can I fix this piece, or how is this not working? But the main thing is just read it over a bunch, not at once. That's why I'm doing what I'm doing. I read it just once, and I made these notes right away as I was reading, scene by scene. I would get to the end of a scene, and I would stop and write down my impression right then. First impression. That's what I'm working from here. Later, I'm going to read it again, and then again, because I have to actually get to where I am looking at it like it's like in my head. I'm working with it. So you don't want to be too moody about it, because yes, your mood is gonna change. It's gonna. Yes, it is indeed. Right there, great scene. That could be better, and I'm working on it. That is perfect. Yay! Yeah, it is so difficult. The good thing is, the more you do it, the less difficult it gets. Like if you're on your first script, it's misery because you don't have a confidence that the process will work. The more you do it, the more that you're like, well, no matter what, I'm going to get a script out of it because I've written 50 scripts. So I know that I can write a script. It takes time and experience and practice. That is why Malcolm Gladwell said 10,000 hours. That's what, 10,000 hours with a lot of hours per day still works out to 5 to 10 years. A lot of time doing the thing a lot of times will give you extra skills and extra confidence. Yes, exactly. And that only happens when you do it over and over again. And not on one script, on several scripts. Okay. We're getting to the end of the hour. Do I have time? Yeah, I'm going to just do one or two more. But if you have questions, ask. But I hope I can encourage you, Anne, to not fear it. Just keep doing it. And remember that it's this weird mixture of pure emotion and inspiration and pure mechanical craft. And your brain kind of does both. It actually switches back and forth, I think. But you get some inspiration in the craft, and you get some craft in your inspiration. The more you do it, the better it goes. Yes, this is exactly right. That is why you don't overreact right away to texts or to scripts, and you look at it more than once. That'll help because your mood will change, and then you'll be like, oh, that wasn't so bad. Or, oh, why did I, sometimes, oh, by the way, don't listen to music while you are reading your script. You can listen to music when you are writing if you want, because it will sort of inspire you and it helps with time. Time gets really weird when you're writing. So if you like listening to music and writing, but never read a script listening to music. That is a bad idea because you won't really be reading it. You'll be twisted up by the music. Okay. Yep, exactly right. That is exactly correct, Ed. All right, let's see where we are here. Okay, now this scene. Okay, completely rethink. See, that's a big note. This scene is just a disaster area, and it is. Completely rethink. The point is to show her leaving. That's really all that matters. So I'm going to just make this a thing. Okay. Yes, that is the thing. It can really be great to listen to music while you are writing. I encourage that. Anything that can get your brain to imagine and to give you some flow and some rhythm. But do remember, no one else will know about that. So when you read it, don't listen to the music because you need to know what happens to those words without the background music. And this is very similar to when you are editing a scene. If you are shooting and editing and you edit a scene and you throw music on under it, you cover up a whole lot of problems. That can be useful, but don't kid yourself. Without the music, you need to know how that scene works without the music. Okay. Uh, Excellent question. Haven't seen you go back to the overview lately. How does the rewrite influence it? What is your final use? Uh, yes. Yes. Yes, absolutely. Everything you're saying is right. The reason I haven't gone back to the overview is because I have not finished this. This is the first read, and I need to get all that into the outline. Then I have to go through the outline and the overview and sort of make some basic choices. But the overview is really going to be most helpful after the script is done, when I use it as the basis for the proposal for the rest of the series. Okay. And I assume that's what you mean by Iago G deck. G, yeah. I don't know what that is, but I think I think I know what, like you're saying, like with the presentation. So let me know about that. When outlining, is your approach linear, chronological order, or do you jump around scenes? When outlining, like first, before I've written it, anything goes. Whatever works. Get anything down you can. That is the most important thing. Chronological order only helps if it helps you go. If you run into a stumbling block or you don't know, or if you're inspired and you think of something later, yeah, put it down. Get it down. No one is watching you outline unless you're doing a live stream. But otherwise, it's fine. Do whatever you need to do to end up with the pages. That's the key, to get the words on the page. And it doesn't matter what order they went in on. If you write backwards, cool. If you just have one scene that like comes to you in the shower and you want to put it in, but it's not for like 12 scenes, write it down. It's fine. That's why we have computers. You can cut and paste and move things. All good. Yes, indeed. And that's what happens to when you can make Baby Driver. Yes, no, dreams, you're absolutely not the only one. A lot of great filmmakers have done that exact thing. Um, yes, the packaging deck, the selling of it. Okay, go Australian Open. Excellent. I think that we all do both. Yes. On that note, I think we are going to say so long, because Australian Open apparently is starting, and we've talked about a lot of really cool things. So let's meet again tomorrow. Until then, go write something. Yeah.